Tap water contains a microscopic mixture of minerals, treatment chemicals, and trace metals that remain in the liquid even after it leaves a treatment plant. Every year, your utility sends you a Consumer Confidence Report, a data sheet detailing every substance detected in your supply. We are going to decode the report from the fictional Gotham Public Water System to identify exactly what is in a typical glass. Learning to read these specific columns allows you to identify exactly what is detected in your supply and compare those levels to federal safety standards. Most water reports followed this structure: contaminant, unit, MCL, MCLG, detected level, and violation status. Look at barium. The detected level is 0.027. The MCL, the strict legal limit, is 2. Since 0.027 is lower than 2, the report marks no violation. Reading the rest of this document follows this same pattern, comparing the amount of a chemical actually found against the limit allowed by law. In the inorganic section, we see sodium and nitrate. These substances typically enter the water supply through surface runoff from road de-icing salt and agricultural fertilizers. These are measured in ppm, or parts per million. To visualize this scale, imagine a 10-gallon fish tank. 1 part per million is the equivalent of adding a single drop from an eyedropper into that entire tank. Other contaminants are measured in ppb, or parts per billion. That scale is 1,000 times smaller, the equivalent of 1 drop in a 10,000-gallon swimming pool. This is why checking the units is vital. A detection of 50 might be safe in parts per billion, but hazardous in parts per million. Inside a facility like this, operators must kill dangerous microbes before the water reaches your home. To do that, they add disinfectants like chlorine. However, when chlorine mixes with naturally occurring organic matter, like bits of leaves or soil, it creates byproducts called TTHMs and haloacetic acids. Gotham's table shows a TTHM level of 61.19. The legal limit is 80. This indicates the filtration process is keeping organic matter low enough to prevent these byproducts from reaching unsafe levels. Producing safe water is a continuous chemical balance, adding enough chlorine to kill pathogens while maintaining filtration to minimize byproduct creation. Some modern chemicals, like the PFAS 6 category, are measured in parts per trillion, or PPT. 1 part per trillion is the equivalent of a single grain of sugar dissolving into the volume of water held by 35 Olympic-sized swimming pools. In the Gotham report, a single monthly PFAS test reached 20.69 parts per trillion. That is above the limit of 20, yet the utility is not in violation. This is because compliance is based on the running annual average. While 1 month spiked to 20.69, the yearly average of all tests was 19.24. The regulation evaluates long-term exposure throughout the year rather than isolated single-day detections. Lead and copper typically enter the water after it leaves the plant, these metals leaching into the liquid through the corrosion of pipes inside older homes. Because utilities cannot control private plumbing, these metals use an action level instead of an MCL. If more than 10% of sampled homes exceed that level, the utility must take corrective action. Let's look at the secondary contaminants. Manganese was detected at 0.088, while the limit is 0.05. Based on what we've seen, is this a violation? It is not. Secondary limits are non-enforceable guidelines. They track aesthetic issues like taste, odor, or watercolor, rather than strict health risks. Understanding your report requires distinguishing between primary health laws and secondary aesthetic suggestions. The final section covers unregulated contaminants, such as PFOS. You will notice these rows have no legal limits listed at all. If there is no health limit to enforce, you might wonder why the water utility is required to test and report these detections. Federal agencies use this data to track where these chemicals are appearing and at what concentrations. This research determines which substances will be assigned a strict legal limit in the future. This section identifies the chemicals that federal agencies are currently monitoring for potential future regulation. When reading your own report, check your units of measurement, identify the legal limits, and remember that a detection is only a violation if it exceeds the MCL. Remember, the MCL is the law, while the MCLG is the health goal. 1 ppm is a drop in a fish tank, 1 ppb is a drop in a pool, and 1 ppt is a single drop across 35 pools. You can find your local Consumer Confidence Report through your utility's website to see exactly how your water supply compares to these standards.